for some type of corruption with election rigging, etc. What do you have to say about that? Because the media and many others are celebrating 100 days, and there are still many people that are aggrieved. So what would you prefer to see instead of what we have currently? And to maybe, for people that are interested, how far has that work gone, if at all, to date?
Look, there's nothing wrong with the Grand Coalition. Absolutely nothing wrong. There is something wrong when there is a coalition, but it is termed something else. Remember 1994, there was election outcomes, and in those outcomes they said there's a threshold. Every party that is below that threshold will not be in government, meaning will not be in the executive. In 1994, there were opposing parties that hated each other, but because there was an idea to unite the country, they had to work together regardless of how different they may be. So in the context of what is happening now, you can't be subjective and say you can't work with MK and EFF for certain reasons, because equally the PAC can say, but the DA, they've always said the DA are representing land thieves. So thank you. It hasn't changed. Thank you. So that is why I was saying Tina is the ATM. There's nothing wrong, but tell people what you are actually doing. Do not mislead people and say it is something different.
So now, just to get in there, so you're fine on what's happening. It's just the communication to the public you have an issue with.
I'm getting there. So our view is that if you don't have a party that has an outright majority, the best thing that could happen in the country is an alignment of parties that share or have similar policies and ideologies, because that creates, number one, policy certainty, and it makes sure that the government is able to operate efficiently because there's an alignment of policies. Not have a case whereby one party now believes that the minimum wage should be lowered, the other party saying the minimum wage is right where it is. Another party saying the Bella bill is incorrect, the other party saying but the Bella bill is correct. Another party, the DA, says the president is wrong by saying Russia is an ally and a friend to South Africa, whereas the ANC, or in fact the state president of the same government that they are part of, is making those utterances. So that creates a state whereby there's not going to be stability, because there's different views which will impact now the policies on the ground that are going to impact the daily lives of our people. So our view was to say, just get parties that have got similar policies and ideologies, because it makes it easier. But once you've got opposing parties that are opposed in terms of policies, you are going to see practically when things are happening. For example, this notion that certain parties are anti-constitution for wanting to amend the constitution, it is something that we need to reject, because a constitutional amendment process is constitutional. Similarly, Ms. Zille of the DA saying they're not going to support the impeachment of Mr. Ramaphosa, meaning they are anti-constitution because it is constitutional. It is a constitutional process to impeach a president for violating Section 89 or in line with Section 89. So what we have here in the when it comes to the GNU is that people are making utterances based on what is making sense to them instead of staying true to the principle. And the principle, Tina, that we are saying as the ATM, if you are talking about an idea of uniting the country, you do not have a leeway of choosing who to work with because of their policies, because you want to unite. And it is not about Mr. Zuma, it is about the electorate. You can't on one side and you say you hate Mr. Zuma, on the other side you're saying but you want to represent the very same people who voted MK party to be in parliament. It can't be. If it is about the electorate, then it must be always about the electorate. Put aside the players that be, because you find that the DA was in support of the impeachment of Mr. Ramaphosa a few years ago, but because now they are saying let's put the country forward, we're going to work with Mr. Ramaphosa for whatever reason, they're fine with that. But when it comes to MK and EFF, suddenly now the ball, the rules are changing. So that is not principle-based politics. If we're principle, we are going to have a state whereby there's a certain threshold. If we're saying from a party with 5 seats going up, they are going to be part of the GNU, then that is what a GNU is all about. But when you choose which parties to be with and not to be with, then it becomes a coalition. Now, the role of parties that are not part of the GNU is equally very important, because our constitutional democracy system in our country encourages a multi-party democracy system, firstly, whereby there's opposition parties to hold the people that are in government accountable. Therefore, there's no obsession from us as ATM to say we wanted to be part of the GNU. Never, not even once did we go to a meeting with the ANC or in the Progressive Caucus and we say, hey, but I want to be inside. If we're not given a position, we'll come back. That was not our thinking. Our thinking was to say, the people that want the blue lights, let them go in there. But the people that want to safeguard the interests of the country will play that role of being, playing the role of being opposition. And that is what we are doing.
Sorry, the second part was just if you were to give an update to people that supported the Progressive Caucus on what work you've done, where it's been, or if you guys have abandoned that.
No, the Progressive Caucus is still functioning. You'll recall that even now in Parliament, there's all 5 parties. It is MK, EFF, NCC, ATM, and UAT. All of those parties have been submitting motions. We remember that the EFF submitted a motion about establishing a committee to deal with the question of extortion. That is, amongst others, the work that we're doing as the ATM. We submitted a motion on rent manipulation, so that Parliament actually does hold inquiries on the questions of rent manipulation. So we're not just a caucus that is standing in the sidelines saying this is wrong, but we are putting motions in place that are debated in Parliament, and other parties reject such motions. DA rejected the establishment of a committee that would sit and investigate the extortions ring that we're having in the country. So the Progressive Caucus is not a caucus that is all about crying foul or identifying mistakes of the government. When the government is doing the right things, we are correctly behind them. Like now, on the issue of Israel and Palestine, we are 100% behind the government on the position of saying they must close the Israeli embassy and make sure that the people of Palestine receive justice. Now, you can't now say we are opposing the government, because when the government is right, we support them. When we feel that the government is making a mistake, it is our duty to provide an alternative, and that is what we are doing.
Very quickly in closing, are you still challenging the IEC on the election results?
We are challenging the IEC. We read today that the IEC requested an extension to file their papers. I don't know why, because they were confident a few months ago. So we are challenging those elections because we believe that if there is something wrong in any place in our country, whether it is the management of the elections, it is when it comes to delivery of the SASSA grants, we must never allow ourselves to keep quiet simply because there is some bit of benefit to us as a parties.
Thank you. Karabo, sorry, again, I'm trying to not get us to, degenerate into a debate. Ukoko Helen has had a few issues with some of the happenings around the GNU.
I wanted to listen to this.
There have been threats of exiting, especially with the Bella Bowl and others. Are these threats real? And if they're real, how would the DA explain to everyone who supports them to the country?
Now she's going to respond to Zungula first, which is very important. We will leave the other one where he's going to talk about Zile, whatever, because we know what was happening there. So she's going to respond to him. But I want you guys to listen to her very careful, because there is something that I said before about the MK party, and people, they thought maybe I was just crazy, I was just doing, But you guys, anyway, let's take a listen and then you will see what I'm talking about.
At large, that look, we're happy to let the MK EFF work with the ANC because of these few clauses in the bill or something else?
Before I do that, I can't let this slide because I'll try.
Thank you.
So there's a whole lot that doesn't make sense in the order of Zungula's thoughts. First of all, you cannot in your brain say that the post-apartheid, the National Party and the ANC hated each other, but they hated each other because of democracy. It's fine, they can work together. And then come back 30 years later and say no, but the DA and the ANC and Azania hate each other, but they can work together because that's not fine. That logic does not work.
Let's say a DA and an MK.
No, hold on. I heard, so the primary example he was making when he was talking about making sure that political parties that share the same line of thoughts, the same ideologies work together. It's the same thing. So you can't in your brain say that you want to have political parties who work together solely if their ideologies are on the same track, if you are also of the opinion that South Africans find themselves in a situation where they need more than just ideological conversations on the table to move them forward. Practically, if we are all going to find ourselves where we're able to emancipate South Africans to the full extent of that which is dictated by the electorate to government, you then need to be comfortable finding yourself in a situation where, yes, I do not agree in Azania's approach on how to deal with land. He's never going to agree with me. But because we understand that we're supposed to find a consensus in a way that will meet the best interests of majority of the room, we are going to do it. And on the basis of that, we're not going to call it a coalition simply because it was not apartheid and apartheid. It wasn't a conversation that happened post-apartheid and in the beginning of democracy. So that logic does not rest with me. As far as the work that they are doing in parliament and them being progressive is concerned, he's lying. Because the current progressive, I am a member of parliament in the same parliament he's in. The work that the progressive caucus is doing is entirely weak. If anything, since the Democratic Alliance's exit of the opposition benches, the benches are naked. I'll tell you how. Outside of the motions that they brief that they give to Parliament, a Parliament that his political party is unable to fully man because there's only 2 of them, outside of those motions that they bring for debates and outside of letters that they write, the actual meat of oversight on the work of the executive is seen within committees. They're not there. They are never there, those people. The majority of political parties that are in the opposition, that is the MK, that is the EFF, that is the ATM and all the other people that he listed, they are not inside committees to really scrutinize the books of government. And if they are in committees, the truth is that most of them who hold the muscle of oversight, which would be in the case of the MK party and the EFF, have very, very poor capacity and quality to actually engage with the work that they're doing. The MK party, for example, themselves, they're a bunch of whole new people who are still going through orientation right now, very much confused about what it is that Parliament is supposed to do. Zero decorum. The whippery itself is very naked, weak and unable to give direction for what South Africans need. So that is the truth. The second thing, when you look at the EFF, yes, has always been clear, and Malema himself has given clear directions that people must be on the ground and not in Parliament because that's where they're supposed to garner votes. So how are you going to go back to the ground and tell people they must vote for you when you're not exercising the job of being in Parliament for the reasons that you said people must vote for you? So you must be very honest about the nakedness of this thing. Godzilla and Mbalula.
So that's what it is. First of all, she mentions the fact that the MK party is in Parliament, and one of the things that she noticed is the fact that they are there. But remember, guys, whether we like it or not, okay, it's very important. This is very important, right? I did say before that when it comes to experience in Parliament, please hear me very well, in Parliament, okay, for the MK party, it's going to be a problem. Now, Brian Molefe, who else? That guy who was in Prasa, I think. And you've got the other one also that was in Prasa. I forgot their name. I think it's Gama. And who is that guy? I forgot him. The one that was in state capture. And also who? Yeah, I think also other people. But these 3 guys, they are very important when it comes to MK party. and also when it comes to MK party, and also in parliament. They are very important. Very, very important, and they are asking very important questions, okay? But when you look at other committees with the MK party, I also want to appreciate that actually they are very vocal and they are asking questions, okay? They are very good with that. But obviously, guys, if you are not experienced, in most cases, you will have a problem when it comes to the decorum, when it comes to the, you know, how things are done. Well, that's okay. That's understandable because we all start somewhere. But when it comes to very important questions, they do ask important questions, okay? I know that she is using that maybe against the MK, but I don't think she must use that, because when it comes to questions, they do ask very important questions. Because one of the things that I like, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to committees, I pay more attention on committees than on the debates, you know, in the National Assembly, because they are just playing, just outshining each other. But when you are in committees, you will see when there is experience, you will see when actually they are asking very important questions. So I know that he's using that, and also I did mention about the experience, but I was mentioning the experience because I didn't know who they were going to bring in parliament, okay? And the one thing that I can give kudos to MK party is the fact that, you know, they are asking very important question based on the people. That means every question they ask, it is always about the people. It is always about helping people and getting people. That means being vocal for the people, okay? And I think on that one, I give them 100%. Okay. Now, when it comes to how parliament to operate, whatever, those things, they will deal with them. Okay, they will deal with them. I can't hold them to account to that. Sometimes they make mistake by not being able to read a speech because there were videos that we saw, all of that. That's okay. People will get used to it. People will get experience the more they do it. It's not a big deal. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you like the video, and I don't know if I will have only part 2 or part 3, but if it's too long, I will cut it, and then I will do also part number 3, which you can also watch, ladies and gentlemen. Please watch the videos until the end, guys. That will be appreciated. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. That will be appreciated. You can go and visit my TikTok. I am also there. I will put it on the screen or maybe in the description. You can click that and follow me on TikTok, and you can just do the do's. Ladies and gentlemen, I am out from this, and then